Hi everybody, and welcome back to another video tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can make a cloud multiplayer platformer game. This tutorial is going to make use of my cloud multiplayer base. This is the project right here. The great thing about the Infinite Cloud multiplayer base is that it lets you make your own cloud games really easily. Even though the code that makes this a cloud multiplayer game is complicated, the code to make your sprite do whatever you want it to do is very simple. It's almost like programming a single-player game, and then my project turns it multiplayer for you. So to get started, you're just going to want to go to the project, and I put the link on the board right now. You can pause the video and copy this link. Also, it's going to be in the video description. Once you're on this project over here, just click on See Inside. This is the code for everything. As you can see, there are a couple of sprites. There's the local player, there's the cloud player, there's the message, there's the network manager, position manager, debug manager, and temp data manager, which is currently basically blank. So, I made this project really simple. If you want to make your multiplayer program, all you have to do is change the code inside of the local player. The cloud player, messages, and all the managers need to stay the same in order for this project to work. I'll quickly demonstrate what this project does. You can see over here, it just says, when the green flag is clicked, hide, go to 0, 0, wait 1 second, wait until global network connected equals 1. In order for your project to work, make sure that you have this wait until block because it's essential. All this is doing is it won't run the code below the wait until block until the program knows that you're connected to the network. So, then it says show. So basically, your player will hide, and once it's connected to the network, it will show. You don't have to do this, but it just makes the program look nicer. Then all I'm doing is waiting until the mouse is down, and then I'm going to glide this amount of seconds to mouse X, mouse Y. So basically, the local player will go to wherever I want it to go, wherever I click. And this little equation, distance to mouse pointer divided by 250, all that does is so the player will always glide at the same speed. Let's run this program, and I'll show you how it works. So I'm going to start the program. You'll notice that I have a few messages. Right now it says detecting players online. What this is doing is letting the program see if there are any other players online right now. Also, you'll notice that there are two variables over here. These variables are only showing because I'm what's called a debugger, and debuggers get these variables shown. A normal user won't see these variables. You'll just notice that two messages appeared. They said, connected to the game, and a player has joined. So it said connected to a game because, well, you're connected to the game. And you'll notice that when it said connected to the game, the sprite showed. And that's because of that wait until block I explained a few seconds earlier. Then it said a player joined a game. This might be a little bit misleading because another player has not actually joined the game. It's this player who's joined the game, me. So I can hide the variables, and wherever I want, I just click. And you'll notice that it's always going to move at the same speed no matter where I go. By the way, you can ignore these green messages because they only show since I'm a debugger. I created the program, so I added special messages that will show. That way I can tell if there are problems with the program. Normal people won't see this. So this program looks pretty boring because all I'm doing is moving around the screen like this. So let's make it more interesting. As you can see, we have two programs now, so I'm going to start up the second one. You can see that it goes through the same process. It says detecting players online, and then it's going to wait for 15 seconds. Because of the way I made this program, there's no way to disable this wait, so while it is a little bit annoying, there's nothing that can be done. And as you can see, two of them joined at the same time. Now, if I move over there, you can see it moves on both screens. And of course, you can use these cloud projects however you want. You don't have to be testing it like I am on the same computer, but you could actually be using them on two places opposite of the world. So if I move them around, you'll see that they move to the same places on the same screen. So, like I said before, this is just a base, and that's why I made this project really simple. All I made was the players have the ability to move around, but in this tutorial, I'm going to quickly make a platformer and show how that can be used with this project. So, the first thing you're going to want to do is to remix this project. Just go to See Inside, and then there's going to be a little orange remix button right here. I made the program, so I can't really remix it. Instead, I'm just going to create a copy. So, here's my new copy. I'm just going to call it Infinite Cloud Multiplayer Base. I'm just going to change that to Cloud Platformer. All right. So, it's actually really easy to do. First thing is I'm going to choose a different backdrop. So you can choose anything you want. And really, the way you do this depends on how you make your platformers, but I'm just going to do a really simple way. It's not going to have any complicated things like wall jumping, but you can add that just as easily. Let's add something like village. Now we have the village here. And I can copy and paste this players online and player ID. These aren't necessary things to have, but sometimes they're just a nice thing. It can give you some information about the project. There's players online, and we can get our player ID there too. I'm just going to put it like that and shift it over. All right, great. So now that I have this, we can just go back. So now we're going to want to add the actual platforms. If I zoom in a little bit more, a platformer works where the characters jump from platform to platform. So we're going to have to make sure that these platforms exist. So let's make it really simple. Let's add a ground. We can make the ground this black line. This is not going well for me, is it? No. I've never been that artistic. So here we go. If I can just grab onto the little line. Okay. So now that we have this, I can make the line a little bit bigger. That way it's more obvious to the players that this is the ground. Now, unfortunately, Scratch is freezing up on me. I'm not really sure why that is. Oh, and there goes the line. Okay, so you can see that we have a really thick ground. Especially if I hide the variables, you can see how obvious it is that we have the ground right there. So then, from our actual platforms, I'll just make it really simple. You can just jump wherever you want to go. So you can jump there, to there, to there, to there, to there, maybe even to there. I'm probably going to want a little bit of a gap. That way players will be able to have room when they jump. Just like this. Great. Now we're going to want to add in the actual code for the local player. One other thing, I just want to shift this over a tiny bit. That way there's enough spot. Okay. So now if we go to the local player, we'll want to add in the code to make it jump from platform to platform. Another thing that we might want to do is to go into costumes and choose a new costume, because an arrow doesn't really seem like a good character. So let's make it something fun. So we can go into animals. How about a penguin? a penguin in a village. Now I can just take the penguin and make him a little bit smaller because he looks a little bit big on that screen. And this is where our penguin is going to start. Now, since this is a local player, we want to also have the cloud player have a costume. So remember that I said you shouldn't change any of the code inside of the cloud player. That's true. But if you want, you can actually change the costumes of the cloud player, because the costumes is what everybody's going to look like. If we want to make the cloud player look different, we could even fill this penguin in a different color. I'll make it, say, green. So you'll be able to tell that you are the blue penguin and the cloud players are the green penguins. So going back to the local player, since I want the penguin to start there, I'm going to replace 0, 0 with this block, 198, negative 133. So now you'll notice that when I start the program, the penguin will start over there. Also, I don't really want this forever wait until mouse down because we're going to be controlling the penguin with our arrow keys. So instead, we can say forever if the left arrow key is pressed, whoops, change x by negative 5, then I'll right-click it and duplicate this. If the right arrow key is pressed, change x by 5. And finally, if the up arrow key is pressed, change the y by 5. Let's just test this on its own. You can see that the penguin moves around nicely, and he moves up for the jump. And you'll notice that he doesn't move down yet, but that's because we haven't added gravity yet. So let's put this back here. So now we need to have a new script for gravity. Remember to have that wait until, because it's crucial. Before you start any of your scripts, make sure that you have this wait until global network connected equals 1. So it looks like an error with the comment I'm trying to duplicate. There we go. And we'll attach this back here. So now the rest of this script won't run until the program's sure that we've connected to the network. So we can put this in forever so here we're going to say sorry for that jump, but if, then you're going to want to take a not, put that not there. If we're not touching the color black, so if we're not touching the ground, we're going to want to change our y by minus 5. So that's what's going to do the gravity. Now, you'll see one major flaw in this program is that you'll be able to jump for an infinite amount of time. So let's try this. So, and we didn't start in the right spot, but you'll notice that there is gravity. And the player just comes down just like this. But you'll see that there's one problem, and we're also going to actually say, if we're not touching the color black, and we're going to have to say, and the space in the up arrow key is not being pressed. That's one change we'll have to make. Because we don't want gravity happening while the player is trying to jump. Otherwise, it'll stop the player from jumping, as you just saw. So now, when you jump, you'll see that the player will jump, and you can jump from platform to platform. So there obviously are a couple of problems with this, and that is, well, you can easily get stuck on the platform, but that's really because I'm just doing this to be a very quick demonstration of what you can do. If you spent more time, you could make this, a really great platformer. There is one change that I do want to make. Even though this isn't going to be the best platformer, I don't think it makes sense if people can just fly basically like this. So I am going to make it so the player can only jump for a maximum of, how about 1 second? So in order to make sure that our player doesn't stay in the air for too long, we're going to have to change the way it jumps. And please excuse this local variable is jumping variable. That was not meant to be there. Okay, so instead of just saying if the up arrow key is pressed, change the y by 5, we're going to want to make it so it only changes the y by 5 for a certain amount of time. So when the up arrow key is pressed, change y by 5, and then we're going to say, maybe we'll repeat 3 times. And then we're going to repeat 3 times, change y by -5. So let's see what that looks like on its own. That jump doesn't look that big enough, so maybe we'll repeat, 7 times, just like that. Maybe even more, 13 times. Great. And we can make this even 7 and -7. Perfect. That jump looks like a nice jump. I'll make it actually 11. So you can just choose whatever values you want to make. So that's our jump. So when the up arrow key is pressed, we're going to do that jump. But then we're only going to do this jump if we're touching the ground, because we only want the player to be able to jump if we're touching the ground. So now you'll see that I can't jump. I'm holding down the up arrow key and it's not letting me go into the air. It's just keeping me jumping like that. So I can still move. I can move around and jump. But you'll notice that this gravity isn't doing anything, and that's because I'm not running the gravity script. So we're going to say, if touching the color black, it's going to go up and then down. But we're only going to be doing that if it doesn't hit black in between. So for example, if you're jumping here and then you decide to move, we want it to stick. So to do that, I'm going to put this into a different loop because this repeat is making it so we can't move while we're jumping. So I just have to go like this. So now we can still move around even while we're jumping like that, so it's nice. So we're going to go up, and then we're only going to change the y by -7 if we're not touching the color black. So you'll notice now that I have that, now it just sticks, because it's only going to move down if we're not touching the color black. And now you'll notice we'll float, but now I can enable this gravity script. And now if I go down, you'll see I'll fall. So if I go here, now I can jump, and it's really nice. I can fall down, I can jump. You'll notice that there still are some small issues, but that's because this isn't really the best platformer thing. And I'm not so great at making them. So you'll see that this gravity script just simply says, if we're not touching the color black, change the y by -5. So you'll notice that you're jumping a little bit more quickly than you're going up, even though here it says do the same thing. That's because the combined force of the gravity and you moving down is making you fall down really quickly. But it looks like it works pretty well. So let's just test this. I can hit stop. And then I will attach this to all of its respective scripts. We do not need this is jumping variable. Sorry about that. And we're just going to duplicate this and stick it right there. So now let's just go and try it. Let's see how it works. So if I hit start, you'll see all the same messages appear. I'll make this full screen and I'll hide the variables so you can see everything that's going on. Might get a little slow, so actually I won't do that. So you'll notice that like before, our player isn't there because we haven't started our program yet, but there's our guy, and we can jump around really easily. So here's the big test. Let's try and put 2 players online. So here we are again, and I'll just start this program up. So you'll see it's going to be detecting the players online, and I'll hide all of this variables, that way you can see the program a little bit better. Sometimes it's a little bit slow, so it becomes a little bit difficult to hide the variable. But look at that. There's player 1, and you'll see that player 2 joins, and player 2 should shift over to the right spot, and there it is. Oh, and I had it. All right, great. So let's move player 2, just like here. And then I can have player 2 jump up here, and you'll see that it works. Just because that's how the program is doing. It's a little bit slow, but that's because the program and cloud variables are a little bit slow. However, this is a really simple way to customize the program to however you want. Looks like I can't quite get up there, unfortunately. It's a little bit too high. That was a flaw. But either way, you get the idea of how it works. And the only reason why this is so slow is because I have two programs going at the same time. And there's our little player. And you'll see that they moved to the right spot, so it looks like it's working pretty well. So basically, this is how you can really customize the program to however you want it. I chose to make a cloud platformer, but you can really do whatever you want. In the next coming versions of my Infinite Cloud Player base, I plan to add usernames, so you'll notice it's just saying 1 and 2, but in the next version I plan to make it say, Z Siegel or whoever else is viewing the project. Additionally, I am going to make different locations, so you'll be able to go to different places besides being stuck at the same place, which is a little bit boring. So I hope you've all enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, you can comment on YouTube or even on Scratch, which might be better. Thanks for watching.